Thingkho Le Malcha, by KSO Media and Documentation Cell, issue number 62, Sunday, 12 November, 2023. Headlines: KOTU's 48 hours shutdown ends, to organize public consultation for further course of action. Meitei's unrealistic demands come out of prejudices. Partiality of Manipur CM Biren even in matter of extending festive greetings. Kerala CM accuses the centre of turning a blind eye towards Manipur. Arambai Tangle bans merry-makings during Diwali festival. Pathetic action taken when Kuki civilians killed senselessly. NRC would rather be a doom for Meiteis themselves if implemented. Root causes of Manipur's conflict, a deep dive into the issue of governance. Thingkho Le Malcha, Relief Center Update. Youth Hostel Relief Center. Haokip Lamka, managed by Young Vifi Association, YVA, General Headquarters. Total inmates registered, 1112. Male, 543. Female, 569. Kuki victims update AS on November 10, 2023. Deaths, 150. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. KOTU's 48 hours shutdown ends, to organize public consultation for further course of action. The second day of the Committee on Tribal Unity, KOTU, Sadar Hills Kangpokpi's 48-hour total shutdown witnessed a similar situation of complete closure of shops, business establishments, educational institutions, and vehicular movement along the National Highway 2 in Manipur's Kangpokpi district. The Kukizo people across the Kangpokpi district came out in the open along the National Highway 2 demonstrating against the alleged selective enforcement of law and order and demanding rational implementation of law and order for both the Meiteis and the Kukizo. The public was seen blocking the highway at Kangpokpi district headquarters and Gamjafai on the second day of KOTU's 48-hour total shutdown as well. However, there is no untoward incident till the filing of this report. The KOTU's 48-hour total shutdown will culminate at 6 a.m. on November 13 morning. Speaking to the media, KOTU's General Secretary, Lamanlun Singsit, thanked all the volunteers and general public for extending unwavering support to the ongoing 48-hour total shutdown in Sadar Hills, Kangpokpi district against the unlawful detention of the two Kukizo individuals and the kidnapping of innocent civilians of a marriage party, 4 of whom were brutally murdered and 1 is still struggling for life in a remote hospital. He said that if the government does not pay heed to the legitimate demands of the Kukizo community, the committee will immediately consider another course of action in consultation with the public after the 48 hours total shutdown. Tomorrow. He then appealed to the general public to remain alert and continue to support the fight for justice. The Kukizo people believed in the power of the institutions of democracy and the voice of the people, Singsit added. He further said that majoritarian rule and dictatorship must be fought tooth and nail. Meitei's unrealistic demands come out of prejudices. The All Manipur United Clubs Organization, AMUCO, a constituent body of Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity, COCOMI, has put forth 8 demands to the Prime Minister of India during the ongoing campaign Way Forward at Kongbok Shetri Laikai, Imphal East. Reportedly, the 8 demands of AMUCO included in the memorandum are to put an end to the ongoing crisis in the state, which includes putting an end to the war, providing assistance to the displaced people who have lost their houses, properties by the government, and rehabilitating the displaced people to their original birthplace. The intriguing part here is, will the Kukis who were chased away from Imphal Valley be bold enough to move back there again? The Kukis will never want to experience that nightmarish ordeal in their lifetime again. So, rehabilitating the displaced people to their original birthplace is next to impossible for the Kukis and will never be accepted by them at any cost. AMUCO also demanded to amend Article 3 of the Indian Constitution, as this particular article gives the Parliament power to resize the boundary of a state in India. The Meitei body demanded the centre government to put additional clause in Article 3 for protecting Manipur territorial integrity, which is something unrealistic and a demand put forth out of prejudice. Under Article 3 of the Indian Constitution, the Parliament may take the following actions. It can form a completely new state by separating the territory from any state, by uniting 2 or more states or parts of states, or by uniting any territory to a part of any state. It can increase or decrease the area of any state. However, demanding amendment to Article 3 of the Indian Constitution is not a cakewalk. An amendment to the Constitution can be initiated only by the introduction of a bill for the purpose in either House of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and not in the state legislature. The bill can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member and does not require prior permission of the President. Manipur, with a total of 3 MPs, 2 Lok Sabha and 1 Rajya Sabha, only will never receive the required attention to garnered centre interest. It's their selfish motive which lands them in a fantasy world. Further, AMUCO demanded to maintain a special administrative zone in Moor and Bihayang, as these places fall in the special economy zone and are inhabited by different communities. However, Amuko must know that it lacks basic demographical knowledge of the region as Bihayang is inhabited only by the Kuki cognate tribes. The need for special administrative zone in Bihayang and more is unnecessary. The unrealistic demand of special administrative zones for these two areas only vindicated the Meiteis' hunger to grab more and more tribal lands, which often leads to conflicts and bloodbath. Partiality of Manipur CM Biren even in matter of extending festive greetings. While deliberately missing a traditional Kut greeting to the people of Chinkuki Mizo community on the auspicious occasion of Kut Festival 2023 on November 1, a state holiday, the Chief Minister of Manipur N. Biren Singh today extended Diwali greetings to the people of Manipur. N. Biren in his message said, "The season of joy, festivities, bright lights, sparkles and sweets is here, but this year hundreds of homes will not see the lights of Diwali. Let us keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Let the spirit of Diwali remind us that good always triumphs over evil." Biren, once again, has shown his partisanship, partiality, biasness and prejudices to the world when it comes to the people of the Kuki community even in a routine matter of extending festive greetings. Mentioned may be made that there was no visual of the so-called People's CM of Manipur N. Biren's greetings over the Kut festival unlike the previous years where he usually attended the celebrations as the chief guest and made speeches of unity, brotherhood and the likes. N. Biren, apropos to the office he holds, was expected to convey his greetings and wishes to the community befitting his position as the CM of the state, but his personal emotion and leanings towards a certain community was consequential on that matter. His silence amidst the ongoing crisis speaks volumes about his stand as the CM of the state. He is now inferred to as the Meitei People's CM. It can also be inferred that the state CM had already failed to differentiate his personal feelings and professional duties thereby diluting the sanctity of the office he holds. The office and the official nonetheless had lost its credibility when the CM openly sided with a certain community instead of trying and finding ways to quell the violence in its initial days, and this blatant disregard only stands to reaffirm N. Biren's commitment to a group while outcasting another. His impotence to hold the office certifies the Kuki people's demand for a separate administration as is evident from the series of discriminatory acts of the chief minister. Kerala CM accuses the centre of turning a blind eye towards Manipur. Speaking after releasing the book Manipur FIR authored by journalist George Kalavale in Kochi on Sunday, Mr. Vijayan said Prime Minister Narendra Modi took 80 days to respond to the Manipur crisis. The central government, which was quick to pledge its support to Israel following the Palestine crisis, chose not to respond to the killings in Manipur for months together, said Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan on Sunday, speaking after releasing the book Manipur FIR authored by journalist George Kalavale in Kochi on Sunday. Mr. Vijayan said Prime Minister Narendra Modi took 80 days to respond to the Manipur crisis. The centre and the union ministers too maintained a studied silence on the issue. The mainstream media, which is extensively covering the Palestine crisis, didn't heed much attention to the brutal killings and violence in Manipur, he said. The authorities, which didn't act against the predators of violence in the Hill State, booked cases against those who exposed the injustice and inhuman activities that took place in the northeastern state through videos and news reports. The authorities even booked cases against a fact-finding team from the Editors Guild of India, which toured the state following the violence. Eventually, it required the intervention of the Supreme Court to stay the proceedings against the team, Mr. Vijayan said. Going by the official figures, 200 persons lost their lives and around 1,000 persons were injured and over 5,000 houses destroyed in the violent incidents. The real damage and extent of death and destruction in the riots, which extended well over 6 months, would be much higher, he said. Opposition leader Ramesh Chennithala received the first copy of the book. State Industries Minister P. Rajiv, Kochi Mayor M. Anilkumar, Hibby Eden, MP, and former Minister Kilavolt Thomas attended the event. Arambai Tangle bans merrymakings during Diwali festival. Once again, displaying their diktats over the Meitei populace, the Arambai Tangle, an unofficial armed militia of the state's head, has laid down certain guidelines to be followed in regards to celebration of Diwali festival, and warned of dire consequences in case of violation. Notably, Diwali is the Hindu festival of lights with its variations also celebrated in other Indian religions. It symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. Diwali is celebrated during the Hindu lunisolar months of Ashvin, according to the Amanta tradition, and Kartika, between around mid-September and mid-November. The celebrations generally last 5 or 6 days. The Arambai Tangle has forbidden all sorts merrymakings during the festival, including gambling with lagao dice, playing with firecrackers, etc. The radicalized group also warned that each of its unit cadres would be doing duty round the clock in their respective areas, and anyone defying the order should be dealt with severe punishment. This type of diktats only manifest the worrying situation in Imphal Valley. Democracy in Imphal Valley has been dying since the Arambai Tangle gains control over the state administration. The police department, which is there to maintain law and order situation, has been rendered helpless by these radicals with the patronage of the CM and the titular King Sanajaba. With each passing day, it has now become clearer to the outside world that the radicalized armed groups have run the show in Impel Valley. These radicals, being let loose, have often created chaos in the valley and made to silence dissents. Unless these radical groups are maimed or tamed, peace and normalcy would still remain elusive in the state. Pathetic action taken when Kuki civilians killed senselessly. The Manipur police on Saturday informed the arrest of one of the suspects involved in the incident of abduction and killing of 4 Kuki civilians at Thingkho on November 7. The raids are continuing to arrest other culprits, Manipur police said. However, the seriousness or swiftness of action taken up by the Meitei police in dealing with related cases of abduction in the state varies from one community to another, particularly when it comes to the Kuki community. In the case of 4 Kuki civilians' abduction and the subsequent killing, no condemnation or condolence was heard from the state government under the leadership of N. Biren Singh. The state government apathy towards the lives of Kuki is becoming more and more evident with the emergence of fresh cases of atrocities. When the victims belonged to the majority Meitei community, the response from the state government and its law enforcement agencies is swift and resolute in solving the cases. But, when the victims belonged to the Kuki community, the state government seemed to be in reluctant mode to trace the culprits. Only after 4 days, one suspect involved in the abduction of 4 Kuki civilians was nabbed. In the cases of Meiteis, the central agencies like the CBI and NIA were robbed in for swift action. However, no such response was seen in the case of Kukis when they are the victims. The state government biasness was manifested in its handling of the state security personnel too. When Thingkho Anand, the SDPO of Moor, was shot dead, the state government headed by the chief minister was quick in his response by condoning, announcing ex gratia, including a job to the next kin and convening emergency cabinet sitting. However, in the case of Haokip, who was shot dead by the Meitei armed militia in the buffer zone, the response of the state government was baffling. No condemnation or condolence from the state government and any sort of ex gratia for the deceased or job for the next kin of the deceased was announced. Haokip, not a police personnel of Manipur government. Are the lives of Kukis lesser in value than the Meiteis? In case of the killing of 2 Meitei young couple in June, the CBI was robbed in to investigate the matter. Where is the CBI then when the barbaric killings of 4 Kuki civilians occurred this month? NRC would rather be a doom for Meiteis themselves if implemented. One of the main accusations labeled all the while against Kukis now is brandishing them as illegal immigrants from Myanmar. The Meiteis have repeatedly made an uproar about the Kukis coming from Myanmar and claim to have intruded into Manipur, who in turn caused mayhem in the state. The demand for NRC implementation gets louder, since the ethnic cleansing on Kukis began on May 3, with an aim to flush out illegal immigrants from the state, which the Meiteis perceived its implementation would affect the Kukis immensely. A half-baked Meitei is of the opinion that Kukis will be reduced drastically once NRC is implemented in the state. Time will tell who affects immensely or who does not. If NRC is rolled out across the state, the fact is that the Kuki people are one of the indigenous ethnic groups living in the northeastern Indian states of Manipur, Nagaland, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram, as well as the neighboring countries of Bangladesh and Myanmar. They are ones amongst the several hill tribals inhabiting their ancestral lands which spread across international boundaries of India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. In the northeast India, they are present in all states except Arunachal Pradesh. It is to be noted here that the Kukis' presence in Myanmar do not necessarily mean Kukis in Manipur are foreigners or illegal immigrants. Before the colonial administration came into existence in Southeast Asia, Kukis are living independently in their defined ancestral land. It was the colonial administration that divided the Kuki ethnic tribes into 3 different countries, India, Myanmar and Bangladesh. In this context, even Nagas and Meiteis too settled in Myanmar. Will these mean that the other 2 communities of Manipur, Naga and Meitei, are also illegal immigrants? However, no such labeling against those 2 communities is ever heard in Manipur. All these just show the Meitei's sheer hatred towards Kukis for their evil designs, thus propagating false information against the Kukis. On April 21, 2022, an Impel-based English paper, The People's Chronicle, published a news item under the headline Bangladeshi Meiteis in dire situation. The report was made by a team of Thobal District Working Journalist Union who were then touring the Meitei and Meitei Pangal inhabited areas in Bangladesh. The newspaper report had said that Meitei residents in Bangladesh's Sylhet town and Bishgao village strongly felt their existence as a community in those areas would become a history in the near future as their population decreased rapidly, primarily due to their large exodus to the neighboring country. Now, the big questions arise: where have the Meiteis of Bangladesh moved to? The report by Meitei themselves suggested that they have moved to India. When have they moved to India? Have they been documented? How many Meitei illegal immigrants are there in Manipur? How many Meitei narco-terrorists are present in Manipur? If the NRC is really implemented in letter and spirit, as per the wishes of the Meitei community, the most affected community will be on the Meitei themselves, not the Kukis. The Kukis never raise objection to NRC implementation demand. However, the apprehension is that the Métis would twisted the process as per their whims and fancies to deliberately discriminate the Kuki alone. Demanding NRC implementation just to target one particular community will only cause more damage to the proponents of NRC implementation in the state. Ethnographically, there was/is not abnormal growth reported in the official census data since the British period till these modern days. Rather, the Kuki population is steadily declining due to several factors in Manipur. Sunday exclusive article. Root causes of Manipur's conflict, a deep dive into the issue of governance. 3 words to describe the state of governance in Manipur. Both Kukis and Métis alike would agree that Manipur government is incompetent, inefficient and a den of iniquity. The Chief Minister of Manipur, the Home Minister, the External Affairs Minister and others in the government and a large section of the Indian populace are of the opinion that the influx of illegal immigrants/refugees from neighboring country Myanmar is the reason for the current conflict in Manipur. While Dr. Jaishankar is of the opinion that the migrant issue is part of the problem, N. Biren Singh is running with the narrative of blaming it all on the refugees. However, it is interesting to note that there is no exact official record of illegal immigrants in Manipur. When asked about the numbers, the go-to answer for Manipur government officials and politicians alike is several thousand. It is safe to say GOM has no exact count on the numbers of illegal immigrant. In March this year, the state government set up a cabinet subcommittee to investigate the issue, which claimed to have identified 2,500 illegal immigrants by the time the violence started. Indian Express. Even if this number is taken to be true at face value, it is minuscule in comparison with the 50,000 plus refugees that Mizoram is handling, not from Myanmar alone but from Bangladesh as well. So according to N. Biren Singh, 2,500 illegal immigrant is the root cause of the conflict in Manipur. If that is the case, then Mizoram with its 50,000 plus refugees must have dismantled and created havoc, mayhem in Mizoram. Mizoram would be hell on earth, but it has not happened. Mizoram is by far the most peaceful state in India, let alone in the northeast region. The question begs, if Mizoram can handle large influx of refugees without halting the day-to-day governance including law and order, why is it that Métis Manipur government is unable to handle just a mere 1,000? It is at this juncture that we look at the numbers and data from various governmental and non-governmental reports to look at where the problem lies. According to the latest Good Governance Index, GGI, 2020-21, which is an assessment of state of governance of Indian states published by Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances, DARPG, Manipur is ranked 9th, 0 overall rank, out of 11 states in the category of Northeast and Hill states, wherein Mizoram is in the second-placed Hill states, Union Territories, Group A and B states. This is to account for the variations in size and diversity of the states. GGI assesses states in 10 different sectors and the ranking are based on 58 indicators. In all the 10 sectors, apart from environment sector, Mizoram outperforms Manipur. N. Biren Singh, prior to May 3, made a big fuss on the reserved forest issue. He rallied the government and the Métis youths to demonize and scapegoat Kukis as the reason for environmental degradation. He launched several village evictions drives in Kuki-dominated area. However, according to GGI, see Figure 2, Mizoram score an abysmal 0.110, putting the state in last place, while Manipur scored 0.362, earning the state first position in overall, faring the best amongst all Northeast and Hill states in conservation of the forests and the environment. It is clear from this data that N. Biren Singh government drive to protect/conserve the forests and natural environment was a ruse to evict the Kukis from their ancestral lands. This unscrupulous act caused great mistrust and deep grudge from the Kuki community. Another area in which we can gauge Manipur is its economic governance. According to RBI's Handbook of Statistics of Indian States, Manipur's state revenue deficit is enormous, -1,550 crore in 2021-22, whereas Mizoram's deficit is 579 crores. According to GGI, 2020-21, Manipur scored only 0.176, bagging 8th place, while Mizoram is in second place with an economic governance score of 0.459, see Figure 3. The Public Affairs Index, PAI, published by Public Affairs Center, PAC, a not-for-profit think tank established in 1994, is another such index which tries to quantitatively evaluate governance in the states of India. PAI evaluates states in 3 broad themes: economic justice, social justice and political justice. According to PAI 2022, Manipur ranked 8th among the small states in economic justice, coming in a very low index value of 0.279, whereas Mizoram is in the green zone, scoring 0.428, bagging 5th rank. According to RBI's Handbook of Statistics of Indian States, Manipur spent 13720 crores in social sector, while Mizoram spent 4530 crores in 2021-22, which is significantly lower. This enormous amount is not justified as Mizoram surpasses Manipur in actual implementation as indicated by the data in the judiciary and public safety sector, GGI, Figure 8, Manipur again scored lower. It is worth noting that in Manipur, conviction rate is low with an abysmal 40.20, whereas Mizoram has the highest conviction rate, 95, among all Indian states, see Figure 9. This is a clear indicator of failed judicial system in Manipur where justice has been served selectively according to the wishes of the incumbent power. Even now, the chief minister's son N.Aj Maitai, who killed one Iram Roger in Impal on March 20, 2011, is yet to be convicted. And the recent bail of 5 Meitei terrorists by the Kairap court is another example. Moreover, former MPS Brinda Thaunajam's case in a drug bust involving N. Biren Singh is another example. Added to this, there have been thousands of cases which amount to extrajudicial killings in Manipur. In 2018, a police constable Harajit Singh who confessed to the Supreme Court that he has been a witness to large number of fake encounters in Manipur. Added to this, disposal of court cases decreased from 81.49 to 52.93, see Figure 9. This is further substantiated by another data according to PAI which ranked Manipur 8th among 10 small states in political justice, scoring a very low index value of 0.434 in another set of data which computes an annual health index for tracking overall performance and incremental performance of all states and union territories by Niti Aayog in collaboration with Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, MOHFW, and the World Bank. Manipur's overall performance dropped from 39.99 in 2018 to 19 to 34.26. In 2019-20, see Figure 11. It is clear from the above data sets the poor, abysmal and declining state of governance of Manipur. If there ever was 3 words to describe the state of governance in Manipur, both Kukis and Meitei alike would agree that Manipur government is incompetent, inefficient and a den of iniquity. This by no means is the fault of the civil administration but rather the unscrupulous acts of the political head. Summation. As BJP came back to power for the second time in Manipur, there was a row over who should be the next chief minister. Biswajit emerged as the probable leader to replace Biren. In the end Biren got the chair. Apart from Biswajit, a whole host of MLAs, both Kukis and Meitei, disliked Biren and his leadership. He was not popular anymore. Added to this, the poor governance as depicted above created a condition where Biren could lose his chair before the next election. He tried gaining popularity among the tribals by courting the Thingkho Nagas. This was evident in the state protection of fringe communal organization like Haokip Federation and Kokomi. To cover up his poor performance in governance, and Biren Singh patronized the Meitei youths and public at large by organizing grand and lavish festivals in the name of promoting tourism. It worked and it boosted his image and popularity. Added to this, he needed a scapegoat to cover up his misgovernance of Manipur. Here the Kukis fit the bill. The narrative of an ever-growing Kuki population, more affluent Kukis' presence both in government and business sector pierced the egos of the Mais who always felt superior to other ethnic communities. Biren was able to exploit these ethnic fault lines for his selfish political goals. He created an idea of us and them and the need to protect Kangleipak and get rid of Kukis from Meitei land, subsequently even from the Kukis' ancestral land. In summary, the data proves that the current conflict, at its root, is an engineered, or as Paul Brass would call it, an institutionalized riot system where one man was able to compromise the entire formal institution to brainwash and radicalize the majority to launch an ethnic cleansing pogrom against the Kukis just because he wanted to remain in power.